When you need advice, come to Ben and Kelly. It's group therapy on 99.7 DJX.
I'm going to toss a phone number out real quick, 502-571-9970. If you're in a spot and you can call in, that'd be great, because I've got a listener who is just looking for an unbiased opinion, and as she even says, real talk.
Yeah, she's calling herself Scorned Sally. So we'll dive in. Hey, Ben and Kelly, need your help. I'm trying to be a supportive wife, but I need to know when enough is enough. Here it is. My husband had an affair that lasted for about a year. It ended about 6 months ago. We've been going to counseling, working on getting our marriage back on solid ground.
That's good.
A few weeks ago, the woman he had an affair with passed away tragically.
Ooh.
Now, this was sad, really affected my husband. He went to her funeral, has been sad and depressed ever since. At first, I was trying to be a supportive wife, understanding his feelings, trying to juggle burying their past with the present that my husband was going through. We did talk to our marriage counselor about this, but I want some real talk. I'm starting to get really upset that he's carrying on feeling depressed for a woman he had an affair with. How long do I have to deal with this? When can I stop feeling sorry and get him to realize my pain and that he's so upset over this other woman?
Wow.
And again, we're in counseling, but I just needed to vent and see what you guys thought. Thanks for your time.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, because as a yeah. Okay, so he broke the marriage vows, stepped out of the marriage, had an affair. It ended. They've been working through that, but the woman he had an affair with passed away, and so he's been in mourning. And so she's like, I don't know how much I on one hand, she's probably like just angry at him, still just trying to work through that. But then on the other hand, it's like, she feels something because she sees her husband feeling so sad and oh my gosh, what do you do? Well,
yeah, because she's probably like, hey, I'm your wife and I'm still here.
Yeah.
So I understand, like, grief is, it's different for everybody and you got to navigate that on your own time. But at the same time, he is mourning for, somebody that is not his wife in front of his wife who is hurting from the pain he caused her in the past and now having to deal with this.
Oh.
That's a lot.
I don't think I can ask for anybody who's been in this situation to call in, because this, I feel like, is so unique. But I gotta think that, you're doing the right thing, one, by being in counseling already. And I think that in and of itself is going to help. But she's wanting real talk. And so as Eric texts in, he says, you owe that man nothing. Stop feeling upset for him.
Well, and
that's real
Brittany's
talk
saying
right
the
there.
same thing, on Facebook. She's getting a lot of real talk on Facebook. Brittany says, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't be supportive over my husband mourning his mistress.
Oh, my gosh.
You have feelings, too. You need to voice that to him as well.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Group therapy, 502-571. What a roller coaster we're on so far today. It is Woods.
Woods, W-O-O-D-S.
Yep, Woods. If you get that in at WDJX.com, you are in to win $1,000 of the $20,000 Pumpkin King fortune here on 99.7 DJX. All right, recapping real quick. Group therapy. Sally, not a real name, wants to know how long she has to feel sorry for her husband. Here's the thing. He had an affair that lasted about a year. After it ended, tragically, the woman passed away. He even went to her funeral. He's been in mourning ever since. It's been several weeks, and Sally has tried to be supportive, she says, but wants him to kind of move on and is like, how long do I need to feel sorry for this guy?
Yeah, they have been in counseling for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Trying to repair the marriage from the affair. And then the tragic death happened, and she's just kind of, all right, how long do I give him to get over this? But it's like really painful for her watching him mourn another woman.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, can you even imagine? We got a lot of people pointing out that maybe she doesn't let him continue mourning her. Elizabeth Ann said, my heart goes out to you, as you're far more understanding than I would be about this. Having been divorced twice, I know what joy awaits ending a marriage. I'd get divorced before I'd be able to support his grief. Make sure you don't break your own heart in the process.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And then Debbie said, you know what? She needs to tell him that he's mourning his mistress passing away, but she has been feeling sad, mourning the loss of her husband when he cheated on her.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Olivia, what's your thought?
I have been the other woman, and honestly, I wanted nothing to do with that guy. After everything ended, it was not a good situation.
Yeah.
So honestly, she doesn't owe him anything. He made that decision.
Yeah.
So honestly, as the other woman, she doesn't owe him anything.
Hey, Lauren, so what's your take with all this?
So this actually happened to my mother-in-law. The lady that my father-in-law married, she actually passed away.
Oh.
My father-in-law did go through a period after they got remarried where he mourned the lady that my father-in-law married. They had an affair.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law felt that she just had to tell my father-in-law how she felt, like, you're affecting our marriage. Like,
Yeah.
that past relationship, I understand that it's a unique situation because she passed away, but I always tell people, you gotta just tell your feelings. And so basically my mother-in-law went through the same thing, and she just told my father-in-law how she felt. Like, this is affecting me.
Thank you so much for sharing your situation, Lauren.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a good day.
Hey, you too. Kayla, so what's your thought?
I've actually been in that situation, so I feel like it took me a year to grieve somebody that had passed, but she needs to literally tell him he had time to grieve his past, so he either needs to stay in the past or focus on her future.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
A lot of tough love. And that's what she came to us for. She is in counseling over this, and they've talked about this in counseling, but she wanted real talk, and she's getting a lot of it. Angie said, first things first, what is her counselor saying? If the counselor thinks him mourning over the mistress is okay, get a new one. She needs to tell him, suck it up, buttercup. I'm alive and here. If he wants to be depressed over the mistress, then he needs to leave. His marriage obviously isn't important to him. And that is exactly what we have. A guy that texted in and said, as a man who's been in her husband's position, I can tell you she needs to move on and leave him. He is not emotionally or physically into his wife anymore. He has moved on. Even though the other lady has passed, his heart and love for his wife has left as well.
Man. And, you know,
Yikes.
like, listen, like tossing out the D word is so huge. I mean, it's easy to say divorce, but in reality, it's such a complicated matter with, you know, lawyers and just a long,
It's a process.
emotional
It's tough for anybody to go through.
process. Yes, exactly. But I think in this case, I mean, this may be the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I think, you know, with the way that he's acting through this whole grief process, I think is sending a strong, like, I don't think I could recover from that. Like, I wouldn't feel confident in my husband's feelings for me anymore.
Right.
If he was, you know, pining over, first of all, had an affair. Second of all, pining over the loss of her. I don't know how you come back from that, honestly.
It's in my head, and I'm just going to say it, but I got to think there was a moment in Scorned Sally's when she heard about this tragedy that was like, good.
Maybe some relief that she obviously won't be a factor anymore, but she's continuing to be a factor through his grief.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's got to tell her something.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to move on from this, but I think it is the writing on the wall, and yeah, you're right. Maybe saying nail in the coffin was a bit too soon. Thank you, Eric, for pointing that out.
That's probably a poor choice of words in this particular situation.
Yeah, I know. A lot of times I say things first and then think about them later, which, you know,
that didn't mean it like that.
May not be the best way to operate on a radio show. But yeah, thank you so much for entrusting us with, you know, your situation, and hopefully, you know, the advice that our listeners gave and that you hear will be able to at least give you some comfort knowing that, look, other people have been in that situation too. So.
Yes, and this may be the tough love that she needed to hear that maybe she's not necessarily hearing from the counselor who is trying to help both of them.
Yeah, I get it.